Hi guys, my name is Alicia. If you don't know who I am, I make thrifting and sustainable fashion related content every single week. And today, because Halloween is coming up in just a few days by the time you guys see this video, I thought it would be super fun to create a tier list of all the Halloween costumes that I've made over the years. This is a video idea I wanted to do for like such a long time, so I'm so glad this is the year I'm finally doing it because I have pretty much handmade my Halloween costumes every year since 2005. So we have 17 different Halloween costumes that we are going to be going through. We're going to be ranking them. We're going to be roasting them. And I just think it'll be fun to see what I have come up with over the years. There's a lot of movie references, TV show references, a couple YouTube references in there. So it'll be fun. Also, I feel like there's a lot of inspo in there. So it's only a couple days till Halloween. If you guys are still looking for some costume ideas, this is kind of like a giant inspiration, I guess. Halloween has always just been like such a big holiday for me and my family. Literally ever since I can remember, my parents encouraged me to make my costume, and like back then I wanted nothing more than to buy those like shiny new costumes from the store, but that wasn't an option in my household, and I'm honestly grateful for that because this is probably where most of my DIY skills have originated from. And also just making your Halloween costume is so much more fun, and the costume always turns out better. Well, in most cases, we're gonna see. I'm going to be rating these costumes off of a few factors, basically from like the concept and idea to the actual execution of it, and compile them into this tier list to see which ones, you know, make it to the top. So we're throwing it back all the way to 2005. I was about 8 years old, and this I'm pretty sure was my very first handmade, DIY, whatever you want to call it, Halloween costume. And to be honest, it shows. So in 2005, my idea for my Halloween costume that year was to be a mummy. The concept was fine. The execution, not so much. For some reason, I thought if I just wrapped toilet paper around myself, like that would be good enough. That was gonna look good and hold up the whole night. And obviously 8-year-old me was completely wrong because this is how the costume turned out. I literally have like one piece of toilet paper wrapped around my head, 2 wrapped around my arms, and 2 wrapped around my knees. Like, it's really not reading mummy at all. And I remember by the end of that night, the toilet paper just ripped right off me, so there was nothing left. So the whole concept was gone by the end of the night, although my mom did do some pretty cool makeup looks on me to like help intensify the mummy look. So that definitely helped, but overall, I think we're going to rate this one. Let's put it in C tier. I mean, like, the concept was there. I tried. I was 8 years old, so let's cut her some slack. Okay, the next year I got a little taste of the DIY, and I really stepped it up for this one because the next year I ended up going as a pirate. Very basic and kind of like cartoonish ideas. You got mummy, you got pirate. But this one I stepped it up. There's definitely a lot more elements to it. So as you can see, I had the little pirate bandana on top. Looks like I'm just wearing like a white open blouse type of shirt, and it's hard to see, but I'm also wearing a t-shirt underneath where I like drew a picture of a skull, so that definitely earns us some bonus points for like DIY aspect and creativity. My mom once again went off with the makeup, and like I'm missing a tooth and everything that really pulls the look together, plus the sword. I remember the part of this costume that I was most excited about was the pants. They're like these striped pink pants that I basically just like cut the bottoms off and made it like jagged edges, and I just thought that like pulled the whole look together, which honestly it did. I understand the vision. So for this one, like honestly, let's put it in B. Like the concept was kind of boring, but the execution was really good. There wasn't like a ton of crazy DIYs, but it definitely incorporated them. So B tier it is. Okay, next up for this costume, I literally did not remember this at all. That's how bad this costume was. It was that unmemorable. But it looks like I went as a mixture between a vampire and a skeleton. So some sort of like vampire skeleton. So concept interesting, but there was no DIY elements in this at all. I think my friend was going as a vampire, so I kind of just wanted to like match her. And also I think I borrowed this dress from my other friend from like a previous Halloween, so it wasn't homemade, but it was made from like repurposed, reused stuff. So like honestly D tier. Definitely one of my worst costumes. Okay, next up, I actually completely forgot I did this costume until I found the picture, which unfortunately I don't have the best picture for it, But I think this was 2009. I actually went out for Halloween as Avril Lavigne, which is like so slay, so cool. Like I said, it's really hard to see, but like once again, my mom popped off with the makeup. She did like a little punk look on me, red lipstick. I had the tie around my neck, essential for an Avril Lavigne costume. I had the Guitar Hero guitar, which obviously, you know, prop, awesome. And then quite frankly, I can't see what else I'm wearing. I think I was wearing like a big oversized t-shirt or something. For this one, DIY elements, not so many, but the concept was fun. And like, honestly, I would do that again today. So let's put that in B tier. Nothing crazy, but it was a good one. Okay, next up. This costume is interesting. So I think me and my friend were matching this year. She went as a cereal box and I went as a cereal bowl. The DIY aspect of this and the execution, very well done. I remember I worked on this for like probably a month. I basically made this like cardboard circle around my body, draped it with a sheet, and then like cut out all these little pieces of cardboard and painted them to look like Lucky Charms, and then made this giant spoon and like wrapped it in tin foil. So like DIY execution on point. So in theory it was cool, although in practice, trick-or-treating with like a giant cardboard thing around you, not easy. I remember like struggling to go up the stairs and like get into people's doorways with this costume. And also just weird choice. So I think I'm leaning between B tier and A tier because like it's definitely not my favorite costume, but I put a lot of effort into it. So I think we'll leave it at B tier for now. Okay, next up, this is definitely one of my least favorite Halloween costumes. Basically, me and Emily wanted to go for Halloween as like these superheroes, but like superheroes that we made up. I think they were actually based roughly off of this sweater that she's wearing that says Super Cat. So all it was like a mask, a cape, and these like rainbow striped socks. I think the whole costume was kind of revolved around the fact that we would get to wear rainbow striped socks. And just like, why? The only DIY element here though is the star shorts. I remember cutting those out of felt and like hot gluing them on, so there was a DIY element in here, but I don't know. I don't know what we're thinking. Like, what was the point of this costume? I think I'm gonna put it in D tier. Even though it has like some DIY elements compared to what is already in D tier, like looking back, I just really hate this costume. And the fact that I wore it to 9th grade is a little scary. Okay, next on the list, I feel like this is really where I was like honing in my DIY skills. And this is definitely one of my most iconic costumes, and it was Marceline the Vampire Queen from Adventure Time. One of the first of many TV show / movie references you'll see. But yeah, this costume had everything. It had the DIY elements, it had like the fun concept, the reference. I think I like bought this sweater from Forever 21 and like based the whole costume once again off of it because Marceline wears this like red striped sweater, but of course the whole like star of this costume is the guitar. I remember like recreating this whole guitar, just like making it out of cardboard, painting it. I remember like adding these like aluminum strings as like the guitar strings, and these like nails as, what are those called? Like the tuning things on the guitar. So yeah, this costume was super fun to make. I think it turned out pretty good. I was obsessed with Adventure Time back then, so it was just really aligned with like what I was interested in. So I think we're putting this on S tier. This is gonna be our first S tier costume, and I think it's deserved. Next up, we have yet another cartoon character. This year I ended up going as Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. My first Pokemon costume, but not my last, you'll see. But yeah, once again, a lot of really good DIY elements in this one. I remember creating the hat. It was just like a red hat, and then I layered like the different colors and shapes of felt to like recreate Ash Ketchum's hat. And then I remember thrifting that blue vest from Value Village and like cutting up one of my old yellow soccer uniforms to like add the yellow trim and everything. Yeah, it was a good one. I think I even wore this to Fan Expo one year. So I think this one is probably like a solid A tier. It's not my like most favorite costume I've done, but I think it had good elements of DIY, like the execution was good. Solid A tier moment. Okay, this next one's a little bit obscure. If you know what this reference is, like, please let me know. But this year I ended up going as Jared Alangi. If you were into pop punk back in the day, you probably know who this is. He's like a YouTuber. And I guess I was kind of like stuck on ideas that year because I just ended up going as him. And yeah, there really wasn't much to this one. Backwards cap, red flannel, the like 3D glasses. The only real DIY I did here was recreating that Man Overboard t-shirt, just like Sharpie on a t-shirt, so not very creative. I was a really big fan of his though. I actually I think I met him at Warped Tour, which was really cool. But as for the costume, I think I'm gonna put that in C tier. It's not the worst I've done, but it was pretty low effort. Okay, I feel like this next costume is really where I started my streak of like, I don't know, like really good execution. So this year I ended up going as Marty McFly from Back to the Future, another classic movie reference. And I remember I bought that shiny hat from Fan Expo. Once again, why did I need this? But I used it for this costume, so that was obviously like the main part of it. And then I just layered it with like the plaid button down and like the denim shirt, and then of course the vest. The vest unfortunately wasn't like a perfect match to the costume. I think I later ended up finding something better, but overall this was a fun one. I think the execution was pretty good. So once again, I think this is another A tier. This is another A tier item. Okay, next up, our first Star Wars reference, not our last. I ended up going as Rey from Star Wars. And this costume I remember putting together fairly last minute. I think I like had the idea in my head, but I don't think I really bought anything for this costume. I kind of just like gathered things that I already had. So of course you have the iconic like 3 buns in the hair. And then I just ended up wearing like a white t-shirt, white pants. But what really pulled this together is I cut off some sleeves of a cardigan. So that kind of like made the like arm sleeves portion of her costume. I like draped a scarf over the front and then just had a bunch of belts. I had a belt going across and then like I did a belt around my wrist. And I think it just really pulled the look together. And like I feel like you know right away who I am based on it. Plus I did borrow my brother's lightsaber, so that really helped a lot too. So I'd say overall this one's probably a solid B tier. There wasn't a ton of DIY elements to it, and it was kind of an afterthought, but I think it came together pretty well. Next up, we enter the era of couples costumes. This is when me and Matt started dating, and I took full advantage of that for Halloween. And this year we ended up going as H3 Productions. Ethan and Hila. Was a big fan of theirs back then, still am now. So we dressed up as them in their like classic, I think this was like the Vape Nation kind of costume that they would wear. So you got the iconic red beanies, you have just the pair of pajama pants, and then we actually like DIY t-shirt and like with pens did the design. So that was a fun one. Plus H3 actually ended up liking it on my Instagram, which was really, really cool. I don't know if it's actually them who saw it or like someone who runs the account, but that was pretty awesome. So for this one, I would say also a pretty solid B tier. There wasn't a ton to the costume, but it was fun. The execution was good. It definitely aligned with my interests at the time. So we'll put that as B tier. Next up, our second Pokemon reference. So me and Matt ended up going as Team Rocket, Jesse and James, and I'm really proud of this one. I think it actually turned out really, really good. There was quite a bit of DIY aspects to it. I remember having to cut out the felt of the R and like cropping the shirt, doing the little cutout, buying like the gloves. Like we did pretty good. We even bought a Meowth, which I think I still have somewhere. I remember we even bought this like spray and hair dye because they have like purple and green hair, but unfortunately like totally did not work. Like my hair is way too dark. It did not show up in it. I think it barely showed up in Matt's hair too. I think it just ended up making a mess. So that was a really fun one. I think it's like a pretty iconic couples costume. So I would say that's an A tier. That is an A tier. All right, next up. I believe this was 2019. Yes, this was Halloween 2019. The movie Midsummer had just come out over the summer, so of course, had to keep it topical, and we ended up going as the couple from Midsummer. This was a really fun one to do. I remember thrifting that dress from Value Village, trying to find like a similar white style dress, and I actually I hand did all of the embroidery to like match the one from the movie, and I remember it taking forever. And then I just thrifted a bunch of fake flowers from Value Village, made the little flower crown, and then of course Matt just dressed up in the bear suit. So this costume was really fun. I remember like people had really good reactions to this one because once again it was pretty topical and there was good DIY elements to it. So this is another one of my S tier costumes. I think just the idea, the execution, it deserves S tier. Okay, next up, 2020, we all know what happened, but that did not stop me from celebrating Halloween. And I think I came out with one of my most iconic costumes of all time, which is Jurassic Park. This was kind of like a mixture of like Dr. Alan Grant's costume, but just like loosely based off of it, and I think it turned out so good. Starting from top to bottom, you know, we got the iconic hat that I just borrowed this from my dad. Screams Park Ranger. The blue shirt I borrowed from my brother. And then I remember thrifting these pants so that I could do the DIY to them. I like slashed open the leg and like used food coloring and stuff to make like the blood marks, and I think it looks so good. I also carried around a little dinosaur with me just in case, you know, people didn't get the reference. And then I even printed off the lanyard, which I think really just sold the whole costume. So, oh yeah, plus I did like makeup on my face to like make me look all beat up and stuff. So this costume really just had all the elements to it, and I love it, and I'm so sad that it did not get, you know, more use of it because it was COVID, so like I don't think I went anywhere that year. I think this deserves S tier, and quite frankly, I think it deserves to be worn again. I might have to pull it out sometime. And actually, I completely forgot I filmed a whole YouTube video on how I made it, so if you want to watch that video, I will link it. Alright, we're catching up here. We're definitely getting to close to present day, just a few more years to get through. But next up, another couple's costume, another Star Wars reference, this time Padme and Anakin from Star Wars. This costume was super cool. I think this is one of my best costumes I've done as well. The accuracy is so good. I remember thrifting that turtleneck and completely like thrift flipping it and adding all the lines and the seams on it to match Padme's. I remember thrifting both that belt and those boots and just thinking like, this totally looks so Star Wars. And the pants, like, what are the chances I found pants with like a perfect seam like that? And it just ended up working out so perfectly. And this was 2021. Once again, COVID was still kind of in the air. This costume really did not get the use that it deserved. Plus I made Matt's costume as well, so this is like double work, 2 for 1. Like that definitely earns me extra points. So I think we have another S tier on our hands. Now I am probably a little biased since these are more recent. We'll see how I feel about these costumes in like 10 years from now, but I think it was pretty awesome. All right, next up we have 2022, just last year, was my Jesse and Jane from Breaking Bad Halloween costume. This one I definitely got the idea from TikTok, and I was really excited about it and the whole like process, but I don't know, I just feel like it didn't turn out how I imagined it. Like for some reason I thought we were gonna come out of this like looking exactly like them. I don't know, just something about this costume. Once again, I have a video where like I did it all, but like if me and Matt aren't standing next to each other, I kind of just look like a waitress or like a butler or something. And as much as I love Breaking Bad, I don't know, I just feel like this costume didn't align with me like the other ones do. Plus, there weren't really any DIY elements to this costume. I mean, I think I sewed the bow onto like the shirt, but like that was about it. And like for me, my favorite part of making these costumes is like the sewing and like taking that like extra step to really bring them to life. So this one I think I'm going to put in B tier. The concept was good, the execution was okay. I don't know, there wasn't much to it, so B tier it is. And then lastly, we finally come to present day, to this year, which is of course my Hoodwink costume if you guys saw last week's video. I did end up doing that photo shoot with my friend, so I have some really, really nice photos of it. And I don't know, this one's gonna be hard to rate because I'm pretty biased since it's like pretty fresh in my mind and everything. I haven't even gotten a chance to wear it on Halloween yet, but I think this one might be an S tier. I feel like it's between A tier and S tier. The only reason being is like, it's Little Red Riding Hood basically, but the version from Hoodwinked. And I feel like Little Red Riding Hood is kind of a boring costume, but obviously this is like a more fun version of it, so I don't know. The accuracy, 10 out of 10. The execution, 10 out of 10. The concept, I don't know, I feel like Hoodwinked has kind of like had a resurgence on TikTok once again, like people are remembering the movie. Like I like to do kind of like topical costumes, so I feel like that hits it as well. So you know what, let's just put an S tier. I feel like it deserves it. So this is what our final list is looking like. We have a lot in S tier, a lot in B tier, and a few misses in D tier. But overall, I think that's pretty good over the years. I'm glad I finally got to make this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this and all my like embarrassing or impressive costumes over the years. So please let me know which out of all of these costumes was your favorite, and also Halloween's just a few days away, so I want to know what you guys are going to be for Halloween this year. Maybe I can take some inspiration for next year. But yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.